Welcome back. Now it's time to collect profits. So let's go ahead and do that. And therefore, I'm going to duplicate this buy button and I'm going to rename it to collect profit button. Now let's also make sure that the text of it is set to 0 because we don't buy anything. This will just be saying 0. All right. So now that we have that, we can go ahead and change the position a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the rotation of this button. So here, let's say we use -60 for this collect profit button. And let's see if we can find it here. So there it is. That's our collect profit button. We cannot really see it right now. Let me deactivate the building real quick. So yeah, it's overlapping a little bit. You see that? So let's make sure that we are also changing its position. I'm going to elevate it a little bit. So here the Z position, let's put it up. So here negative Z position in my case, -3.25 so that it's on top here. And then let's also position it a little further towards the right, a little further towards the front. So something like 1.5 or so. Let's look at it. Okay, I think this X will probably not be necessary. Okay, so we have this other button now that we can use in order to collect money now. We could of course still change it later on if we're not too happy with its position. So if you want it to be a little further towards the front, something like that, that it overlaps entirely and really hides the other button, that's going to be fine as well. So now let's make sure that this building and prefab is back and visible. And this button doesn't look very good. So let's go ahead and change it a little bit. Therefore, I will make sure that here the color of my button, which is currently white, is going to have a transparency of 0. So like this, let's set it to 0. So now the button will still be visible. We need to make sure that it stays visible because if we deactivate it, we cannot click on it, right? If we deactivate the image, we cannot click on it either. So that's one thing. Now let's also change the color of the button text. I'm going to use this yellow again that we've used before, and I'm going to add an outline here as well. That is 1111. So there we are. And now we can take care of our building class a little bit. So first of all, we are going to require another game object here, which will be our collect profit button. Then we need to know how much money we have to collect. So we need to get the text from the button. Well, actually, we want to set the text of the button. So we need to display it, of course, in our game. And then we need to set those two values in our start method. So let's go ahead and first of all, set the profit button. And we get the profit button the same way as we did the buy button. So getting the component in children text. And then we are setting the collect profit button depending on whether is unlocked is true or false. So collect profit button set active. Now we need to add our profit per second, which can be achieved using a coroutine. But how do we calculate our profit? Well, a simple calculation would be profit per second equals building level times profit multiplier. So this would be one way of calculating it. So let's write it down here in the comments. So something like this: profit per second building level times profit multiplier. Then, for example, the building level will be 1 in the beginning, and we will increase when we add the building upgrade feature to the game. So we will increase that value. The profit multiplier will then be set per building. For example, the first building we unlock will have less profit multiplier than the ones that we will unlock later, which means more expensive buildings will give us more profit. So let's add those variables that we will need. Okay, so let's go up here. So as I stated, we will need a couple of values. One of them is going to be the building level, then the profit multiplier, and the actual profit. So here, let's create an integer for the building level. Let's create a profit multiplier here. And then let's create the profit itself. Now, of course, we also need to update the profit UI. So let's go ahead and create a new method here, which will be update profit UI, which will just set the collect profit button text to be whatever the profit is to a string. And now we can use an IEnumerator, meaning a coroutine. Here, IEnumerator, let's call it make profit. And we're just going to say while true, so this coroutine will run forever. We're going to check if the building is unlocked, then increase the profit so that it is whatever it was before plus the building level multiplied with the profit multiplier. And then we need to update the profit UI, which means we need to update the button that displays how much profit we have. So where is it? It's this one here, where we need to make sure that the button will always display how much profit we're going to make once we click on the button. And then this IEnumerator needs to return something. And we're just going to say in this while loop, it'll return a new wait for seconds real time. And I'm just going to say it should wait for 1 second. So every single second, the profit will increase by whatever the amount of our building level times profit multiplier will be. So if our building level is at level 1, it will multiply that with our profit multiplier, which is 1. So we're going to make €1 per second. Now this coroutine is ready, but the coroutine doesn't do anything as of now. So it's because it's not called, right? So we need to make sure that we call this make profit method inside of our start method. Okay, so here, let's call it start coroutine. And if you're wondering what coroutines are, definitely check out the coroutines video that we have created. So this will now start this make profit coroutine in our start method. So once the script is loaded, so once the building is loaded, and then every single second it will run this code where it will check if the building is unlocked. It will increase the profit by building level times profit multiplier. So now once we buy the building, and that is done when we press the on buy button here, we need to make sure that we also activate the collect profit button. So here, let's go ahead and use our collect profit button, set active, and set it to is unlocked. So now before we actually collect the money, let's save the script and see if this is going to work. So back in Unity, let's go to our building 1 and make sure that our script, our building script, has assigned the right values, because we still have to collect or add the collect profit button here. You see, collect profit button, none, so no game object. So let's add that in there. Let's drag it in. And now let's save the scene, by the way, also, never forget that. And let's run it. So at the beginning, nothing. Once we buy it, you see the number is going up, up, up. So now you can, of course, change the position of that button if you wanted to. So the button itself is invisible, right? But the number, the text of the button is visible. So now we can, of course, try to click on it and it will event or trigger an event, but well, we don't do anything yet. So now let's take care of actually collecting the money. Therefore, we need to go back to our script here and we need to make sure that we trigger an event. So let's create an extra method for that. I'm going to call it onCollectProfitButton. So once we press the button, what is it that we want to do? And I'm just going to call this money manager here add profit method. So we have this add money here. So we need to call this add money method. Do you recall how to collect or call something from the money manager? So we just need to use moneymanager.instance dot and then the method name. So here we can just go ahead and call the add money method and pass the profit in here. So whatever the current profit value is. So you recall profit was this big integer, which will be increased here in our make profit. But then we of course also need to make sure that the profit will be reset, because otherwise it would run forever and we would make more profit and the profit would keep on going, but we need to reset it and set it back to 0. So now let's go ahead and set the profit back to 0. And of course, once we make changes to our profit, we need to make changes to the UI as well. So let's update the profit UI at the same time. All right, so now let's save the script and let's make sure that we make this onCollectProfit method the event that we're assigning to our collect profit button. So now let's make sure that we're not using the onBuy button, but instead are using the onCollectProfit button. So now let's actually try to collect profits and see if our euros at the top are increasing. So let's buy the house. Let's wait until it got some money. And let's click on it and we see at the top the euros have increased. The value went back to 0. So now every second we can collect our money and that money will increase here at the top. So the profit will go back to 0 and then it will start growing once again. All right, so we have the core functionality of our game ready. Let's save the scene and see you in the next video.